This week on Music Worth Buying, we're going to be discussing Good Thing by Leon Bridges.
And the Now from Gorillaz.
Hello everybody, my name's TJR. I'm a musician and a music writer.
And my name is Robert Kinsler, and I'm a music writer and a musician.
And we both got two albums that we're excited about that we want to recommend to each other and get each other's reaction. And we want to recommend to you and get your reaction. And I'm going to start with the second album by Leon Bridges entitled Good Thing. Now, Leon Bridges got a lot of public attention with his first album entitled Going Home, with its very retro 60s sound. I liked the album a lot and thought he was going to be part of what I refer to as the retro soul movement, typified by artists like Sharon Jones before her sad passing.
Yeah.
But interestingly enough, with his second album, Leon Bridges has moved ahead. He's expanded his horizons. If Going Home was his nod to the 60s, then Good Thing is his nod to the 70s. Now, the album opens with a track called Bet Ain't Worth the Hand, where he acknowledges, it's like, okay, you remember that 60s soul thing I was doing? Well, I'm going to do it here on this opening track, and then we're moving on from here.
Okay.
It's almost like a bridge. Like, I know you were expecting more of what I did on the last album, so here's one song, but now we're going to move ahead now, and we're going to fast forward into the 70s. In addition, there is some slight nods to contemporary pop on this album. But mostly he keeps it rooted in the likes of not only Sam Cooke but also Marvin Gaye. And so we're going to start with a track here that is the second track on the album. And you've probably heard this hopefully on the radio. I think it's gotten some radio airplay. It's called Bad News. Here we go.
They tell me I was born to lose, but I made a good thing out of bad news. I don't worry about people in my face. I hit them with the style and grace.
You know what I really like about that is immediately that it has a 70s feel to it,
Yes.
sonically, definitely. But his voice is so great,
Yeah.
like a Marvin Gaye or an Al Green or something. He conjures up some of those great soul singers you think of. I mean, there's a lot of singers today, they say, oh yeah, they're an R&B soul singer, but they don't have the richness and kind of like the authenticity when you think of some of the greats, like a Sam Cooke or something like. I know the lead singer of Vintage Trouble, we talk about him, but a totally different vibe. That they're kind of more of a blues rock meets soul sound. But this is really cool soul music, and I also like just the whole way it's produced and the sound of it.
This groove, I love the groove, that whole bass line, that whole bass line that goes, I can't hum it very well, with those sounds, bum, bum. And what I love about a track like this is, as a musician, oftentimes I hear it as a musician, I think, oh, he's doing this, they're doing that. There are some songs where the groove comes off so effortlessly that I don't think like a musician, I think like a fan. And I hear music the way I heard it before I became a musician. I just hear it as shapes and colors.
Okay.
And it just moves through me. And tracks like this are those kind of tracks. I love it when a track like this happens, and I don't think of it as a musician. I just feel it as just shapes and colors.
You're just feeling it. You're feeling it in your soul and stuff. Yeah.
And it just, I love that. I love that. So, great track there. Let me talk about packaging. This is in a standard jewel case, and we've shown you the front. Here is the back, and we'll open it up for you here. And inside, of course, we've got, I think this is, of course, deliberate, the very retro-looking Columbia Records
that's really
label.
neat. Yeah.
And there's the picture inside.
Neat. And you can even bring that a little bit closer
Sure.
to the camera. People can see it. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Really great how they've laid that out.
And then we've got, of course, the booklet here. The back page that we're seeing right now is just the thank yous to everybody that he's thanking. And inside, of course, we do have lyrics. Love the layout of this. And
Oh yeah, nice, easy to
very
read.
well made, yeah. Very simple, very basic, but very easy to follow along and read the lyrics. Nothing really difficult about it. No other photos, but otherwise I love the layout of the booklet. Much enjoy that. We will check out another song here that is called Beyond. And here we go.
Scared to death that she might be it, that the love is real, that the shoe might fit. She might just be my everything and beyond space and time in the afterlife. Will she have my kids? Will she be my wife? She might just be my everything and beyond.
Again, what jumps out at me is just what a strong vocalist he is. Just really good. I mean, he obviously this is a beautiful love song, and he's really conveying his feelings very powerfully here. And you know, you just don't. I guess I said it last time. You just don't hear a lot of great soul singers today that have emerged. I don't think that have come out of these traditions. You know, he's what a great singer. Yeah, and the song works too. I mean, for a first listen for me, I'd have to hear it again. But I mean, yeah, he definitely you know, conjures up, like you're saying, some of those great singers from the '70s.
He's probably one of the most underrated vocalists working in contemporary music right now, and also, like you brought up, the lead singer of Vintage Trouble,
right?
Especially in the area of soul singers, incredibly underrated, and certainly deserving of more attention. What I personally like about this song is, first of all, is how it's still a very soulful song, but how predominant the acoustic guitar is in this song. There is almost, did you hear an almost slight Beatlesque influence in this song?
A little bit,
a tiny bit,
yeah.
And yet the acoustic guitar, in that acoustic guitar, there is a slight folk influence within soul, a slight blues influence as well in some of the licks that are being played. And in the melodies he's singing, there is a slight Beatles influence too, which, like I said, the Beatles were, of course, influenced heavily by soul music of their time period that they grew up with.
Exactly.
And that shows up in the fact that they covered songs like Money.
Yeah, exactly.
And
even Twist and Shout.
Twist and Shout, absolutely, yeah. That was them reinterpreting the soul music that
they were hearing, and that influenced them. Definitely.
But yeah, he tremendously underrated as far as a musician, and I think also the songwriting is just amazing, and there's just so much going on texturally within the music. Now, a little thing I want to bring up here, in this album there is a track, it's called You Don't Believe, and in that song he moves into 80s territory as far as soul music. And I have to wonder, will the direction of his next album whether or not it will be to move into that direction and be more into the 80s, if he's just kind of moving through the decades, and he's going to finally then say, and he's going to take this through the 90s into the 2000s. I don't know if that's his plan. Maybe not. Maybe it's just coincidence that the first album was very 60s. This one's very 70s. But no matter what I appreciate between the last album and this album is him expanding his horizons, not being content to stay in just one place. And I have a feeling that whatever he decides, he's just going to keep expanding.
Yeah, really cool. Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that. I really like that. Yeah.
And who have you got?
Now, actually, I brought in the latest album from Gorillaz. Now, Gorillaz returned in 2017 with Humans, which was their first album, I think, in about 7 or 8 years. I don't have the exact dates here in front, but that album, it was a good album. It was well produced and stuff, but it wasn't, I would say, a very personal album with really songs that reached out and grabbed you. With Gorillaz' new album, the Now, and make sure I have that. Yeah, and it's a title that doesn't roll off the tongue. This is almost like the natural follow-up to singer Damon Albarn's solo album, which came out about 5 years ago, and it was called Everyday Robots. I think it came out in 2014. That was a very personal album, very introspective. Some of the songs were very kind of quiet. This song, many of the songs are upbeat, but it sounds like a sequel to that album more. It's very personal. The way I would say is, like, some of the songs have titles like Kansas and Idaho. It's almost like here he is, an Englishman. He spends, I guess, a lot of time, touring, obviously, whether it's with Blur or with Gorillaz or other projects he's worked on. And it's almost like he's in these other lands, he's not from home. And it's kind of like, he's tapping into that experience about being somebody that's journeying on the road and what that experience is, and it's almost like he's bringing that into the songs here. You know, the titles are you know, very many of them have to do with geography. I could almost read them off here, but like there's one that says Lake Zurich. I think I mentioned Idaho. I mentioned Kansas. We're going to be hearing a little bit of a song called Magic City. So a lot of these seem like they deal with geographic places, either literal or like Magic City. Maybe that's, I don't know if it's about New York or Vegas or something. But again, they seem like they're inspired by his travels and stuff. And but whatever is the inspiration behind these songs, they really connect this time around. This is a great album. And why don't we listen? I know I mentioned Magic City. Let's hear a little bit of Magic City. And this one actually features Graham Coxon, who's the guitarist in Blur, and obviously that's Damon's other band. And he guest stars on that with some great guitar work. And let's listen to a little bit of this song.
Yeah, okay. I'm ready. So this is my first listen here. There are times when I'm listening to new things. Some things don't hit you right away. Some things do. But then some things just like intrigue you. You're like, what is this I'm hearing? And a good example is kind of like when I described when I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody. I was like, what the F is this?
Yeah.
But it still intrigues me.
Yeah.
Later on, of course, I think it's great. But this is one of those things where I'm like, I'm definitely intrigued. And I'm definitely thinking if I hear this just a few more times, I might be a whole lot more intrigued.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to hear this some more. Am I hearing a somewhat of a? I'm feeling a bit of a Radiohead vibe. Do you? I mean, I know you're a bigger Radiohead fan than me. Do you agree with that, or?
You know, that's I hadn't really thought of it. I mean, it's funny because yeah, I'm most familiar with Everyday Robots, which was Damon Albarn's 2014 solo album I mentioned, and it's like this kind of picked up where that left off. I didn't hear Radiohead didn't jump out at me, but I guess you might.
Maybe
if
it's
you hear
because oftentimes with Radiohead I've learned to trust the instinct that on the first listen I may be a bit like what
perplexed a little bit.
What was this? But I know that if I continue to listen to it I'll be rewarded.
Yeah, that's what.
And so maybe I'm feeling kind of the same thing. One thing I will say that I like the dream-like quality of the song right off the bat. I really like the whole dream-like quality of it. So definitely I'm intrigued.
And you know what I hear, what I think the music conveys here too, is it's like here's somebody, he's obviously, when he's described Magic City, it's obviously a destination place where all these people go, but you also get the sense like here he is, think about Vegas, and that may or may not be someone's experience, but you go to Vegas, you're in this huge, there's all these lights, there's all these constant stimulation, but you, in a way you can, at times you might be able to sit there and feel like alone, like you don't know any of these people, you don't connect with anything going on around you, and there's almost like that sense, like he's like this passenger, you know, he's going, you know, he's a visitor, he's going to these places, and he's not there really long enough to make a real deep, profound connection, but he's kind of seeing all this activity and all these new stimulation, you know, factors going into the picture or something, and that's what I pick up other places on the album as well, but in particular I think on this song, and I think that's conveyed really well and beautiful. And like you said, this is a song that I think the third listen you're going to get a lot more out of it than the first listen too, and I would say that about the Now you know, in whole too as well.
Sure. Let's take a look at that album.
Yeah.
I'm definitely want to see the. I was definitely intrigued by the back cover there.
Okay. Yeah. So this comes in a standard jewel case. Let me see. Pull out here. So yeah, and it very much has the graphics here of the you know the band members' cartoon alter egos. You know that were I guess part of their when they developed it. I think they did it kind of as a lark, and then it's obviously now so iconic now.
Yeah.
You know, and then more graphics on the back. You know. There's not actually going to be real photographs of the band, just these illustrations. And let's show a little bit of the booklet because it's pretty cool as well. So here's the booklet. And again, you get all kinds of neat, you know, illustrations. No lyrics in here, just liner notes on the songs.
I can live with just looking at the artwork.
But the artwork is great.
Yeah, I can live with
we're
that.
both comic book fans, so
Yeah.
we can definitely relate to this. Just great artwork, you know. And one thing I want to make sure I don't forget about, I know we mentioned the guitars from Blur being a guest on here, and Blur is the album that put Damon Albarn on the map. They formed in the 80s, and I think they really exploded in England in the early 90s. But also you even have on the first lead-off single, actually George Benson, the famous jazz guitarist, is a guest star. And I know one of the tracks, I think Snoop Dogg's on there as well. He's a friend of Damon. So you do have the guests here like you did on the last album, Humans. But this is, and I want to reiterate that, this is definitely a more personal album for Damon. And he's front and center across all the tracks here, you know. And what I thought we'd close out with, and this might be my favorite song on the album. I just love the song. It's called 1%. Let's see if this one grabs you on first listen.
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely. Let's check it out. Definitely, I'm going to react stronger to that one, and definitely, once again, I love the dreamlike quality of it, and I feel even more of a Radiohead comparison.
Yeah, and I think that's accurate there, and there is an otherworldly quality to this where it's, you can tell it's a human voice.
Yeah,
but it's like almost like, I mean, I almost think like an astronaut that he's lost in space, and it's almost like this is a melody or this is a musical landscape running through his head, and he's somehow actually been able to fabricate it in the studio and share it with all of us.
Yeah,
but it's really unique and just a real powerful recording, you know.
And you bring up the fact this is a human voice. There is some studio effects going on, but nothing terribly artificial. No auto-tunes going on here. Just the standard use of a well-made use of reverb, which has been done since the 50s.
Right, exactly.
Just, you know, just a little bit of reverb, some reverb echo, maybe some delay, but nothing really, you know, out of the ordinary. But it has this huge, expansive effect with it. It has this otherworldly quality without having to completely change. I don't feel like the voice has been crazily altered.
Right.
I think it's just been EQ'd in the right way. The right reverbs have been used to where it gives it that otherworldly quality without doing something like auto-tuning the voice or completely distorting it in some way. Not that isn't good from time to time and a good effect to try from time to time, but this feels very natural. You know, as far as you're saying about the vocal sound of the world.
Yeah, and I look for, and maybe what we'll do, even if we talk offline or we'll see what other people say too, but I'm looking forward to you hearing the rest of the album and seeing kind of wading through it, and I think it'll be very exciting. You know, I think like we've both talked about this before. There's some artists, there's an immediate response you get the music on a first listen, and it jumps out at you. So there's other music like a Radiohead in particular, Sigur Rós, or some of the Dead Can Dance, some of these other artists where you have to invest a little bit more time and effort, but the rewards are immense. I think for you know once you connect with it.
Definitely. So let's go ahead here. Have you checked out these albums? Are you planning on checking them out? Let us know what you think. Let us know your thoughts. And let us know what you've been discovering lately that you think the world should know about. And thanks for bringing that in.
Yeah, thanks for bringing it. Yeah, it was good. Really, and I definitely look forward to hearing great singer.
Excellent. Glad you feel that way. Everybody, thank you so much as always. If you like what we do, please be sure to click subscribe. Click that bell icon so you can get notifications when we release new videos and be the first to check them out. Just thank you for your support, everybody. Take care.
See you later.
Bye-bye.